So last year, California rolled out the most insane first-time homebuyer program I've ever seen, giving up to 20% down payment assistance for qualified first-time homebuyers. Now, for the first round of funds, which was $300 million, they thought the program would probably last about 6 months. However, due to how popular it was, it ran out in 11 days. So this year, 2024, they're bringing it back for the second round of funding for another $250 million, but they are doing things a little bit differently to be able to make this program last a little bit longer, as well as change who qualifies for it. So to go over those changes to see if you can qualify it, I invited Mike from Loan Depot onto the show today, and we're going to discuss all of the changes that are happening and what you need to know to see if you could qualify for this unique first-time homebuyer assistance program. So let's go ahead and get into it. Okay, everybody, so today I want to welcome Mike from Loan Depot. Mike, thank you for joining us today. He's going to help walk us through all the different changes to this program. So let's go ahead and get straight into it. So first, I just want to go over the very basics. So this is a program, like I said, that came out 2023, and really it's an equity share program. So it gave you up to 20% to be able to put towards a down payment. And then basically what happens was when you sell the house, you have to give back that 20% and then 20% of any equity on top of that you made. So it's almost like a free loan that you get for the property that you pay back once you sell the house. So if you want more information about that in a much more detailed way, if you watch this on YouTube, I'll put a video link right up here that you can check out that goes over all the details of the actual program itself. But today we're going to talk about all the changes that have been made in 2024 that you need to know about if you want to be able to take advantage of this program. So Mike, let's go ahead and get into it today. So first thing, what are the biggest changes in terms of if someone wants to use this program, what do they need to do to be able to qualify for it?
Yeah, and that's where we definitely saw some changes from 2023 because this program really took the real estate world or the California real estate world by tidal wave, right? It was definitely a craziness. And so they've definitely revamped the program to help limit who does qualify for it and who ultimately needs the program. And so one of those pieces that they've added as part of a qualifying, not only do you need to be a first-time home buyer, you also need to be a first-time generation buyer. And what that means is your traditional guideline of a first-time home buyer means you haven't owned a home in the last 3 years. Well, a first-time generation buyer means you haven't owned a home, been on title to a home in the last 7 years. But then also they've added that you also can't have your parents have present ownership to a property currently. So that's definitely a big change to the program here this year.
Yeah, that will obviously disqualify a bunch of people from using this program that could use it last year. And they're really trying, it seems like, go after trying to get those first initial generations of homeowners going from generations of renters that have been in the past. So with that, if you're a couple, let's say, do both of your parents have to be renting or just one of them?
Yeah, no, great question. So it is only one buyer that's qualifying for this Dream for All needs to meet these requirements, meaning you have to be a first-time home buyer, you have to be a California resident, and you have to be a first-time generation buyer. So only one borrower on the loan. Now, both borrowers need to occupy the property as their primary residence, but only one needs to meet those specific requirements.
Okay. And then what are some of the other basic requirements in terms of, let's say, like income, credit scores, all those things, so people can kind of have a better understanding if it's something they might be able to qualify for?
Yeah. So in terms of credit scores and most of the qualifying parameters around it, they follow your traditional CalHFA first mortgage program. So part of it is part of your income. So your credit score is based off of what income classification you fall into. So it's either a 660 credit score or a 680 credit score as that minimum, depending on where your income falls. And actually can pull up a chart here. There we go. For 2024 is we saw a reduction in terms of income limit by about 15%. So you can see for Orange County, right, that income for the borrowers on the loan, not necessarily household income, but borrowers on the loan. So for Orange County, that's $202,000. For Riverside and San Bernardino, you can see $149,000, and San Diego County, $185,000. So they did show a reduction, again, to limit that buyer pool of who ultimately needs this as assistance program.
Okay. So we've got the credit score, we've got income limits on there, we got the first time home buyer, and at least one of the, if it's more than one person on the loan, one of the parents has to be renting as well. So now let's go ahead and go over some of the changes that were made in terms of how you actually apply for this. Because last time in 2023, it was chaos. There were so many people trying to apply for this, and half the time you wouldn't be able to even get any information because I mean, this thing, I think it was pretty much all the funding for it was gone in like, it was like 2 weeks or something like
I
that.
think it was
Before it
11
disappeared.
days. I think
Yeah.
300
So,
million was gone in 11 days.
yeah. Yeah. So obviously a very popular program. So how are they doing it differently this time? Maybe to try to eliminate some of those hassles that we saw last year.
Yeah, and I will say that it did spark a lot of good conversations. It brought up the idea of home ownership that had normally been written off for a lot of people. So it did spark a lot of good conversation. But in terms of actually being able to get the program and get into escrow on a property was quite challenging. Part of why they've changed that is so you need to work with an approved lender first on CalHFA's approved lender list. So not all lenders actually do these programs. So who you work with first and how that lender actually understands the program, because they're going to be setting you up for success. So going through that approval process, just like you would any other mortgage, you will then be able to generate a Dream for All approval letter, which will be submitted through CalHFA. So this is the California Housing Finance Authority. It'll be submitted through their portal, which will then generate a lottery process to determine who will actually be selected to receive a voucher for this program. So whereas before it was a first come, first serve, if you reserved the funds, then you were good. You found a property. Well, now you're going to get a predetermined amount of time from the time you're selected through the lottery to go out and find a home. So it won't be, hey, you need to find a home in a day. Because that's ultimately today's challenge is, right, the lack of inventory. Well, you may need a couple of months to find a house. It's not going to turn around and get you in there just because you were selected.
Okay. So basically you need to talk to an approved lender. The lender is going to go through almost like a standard approval process with you and then help you fill out that application. And then correct me if I'm wrong, but you can start submitting those applications for the lottery system in April, correct?
Correct. Yep.
Okay. And then have they given any indication on when they're going to actually select people from that? Is it going to be the same month? Is it going to be a while? Any information?
They have not. I will say they've been very vague on this program from the get-go for a reason is they don't want to set up the wrong expectation because there are a lot of other down payment assistance programs that could be helpful. So they've been holding it close to the vest for a lot of the details.
Okay. And then speaking of, if people do not qualify for this program, there are other programs out there that are helping out with down payment assistance. Obviously, the Dream for All one is the big one that everybody's talking about because it's up to 20% down. So, I mean, you could be getting over $100,000 in help to be able to purchase a home right now. But there are other programs out there. So this is not something that if you're not quite ready yet, you're not thinking you're going to buy in a certain amount of time frame, you can still talk to a lender, get the information, figure out what other programs you might qualify for, because even if you don't win the lottery for this one, there might be other programs that can help you get into home ownership that are just going to be as equally helpful and maybe have a little bit different terms to them.
Yeah, and that's one thing to point out that you touched upon. They actually, one of the other changes is they did change the maximum loan that you can now borrow for the shared appreciation portion, which is $150,000. So that has changed from before to limit the sales price that people are looking at to help expand the utilization of those funds, right? It was $300 million gone in 11 days and that helped a little over 2,000 families. So now 200 million, they want that to last longer, right? So the amount that you can actually get on that second loan has been reduced as well. But as they rolled out this program, they spotlighted and said, hey, this should be sometimes a plan B because of the lottery piece. Plan A should be looking at CalHFA's down payment assistance program. That's their My Home Assistance program, which gives you the down payment and closing cost assistance. Same thing in a form of a second or third lien on the property. But in this case, you don't have to share in the appreciation. You still have to pay back that second or third lien. But it gives you a good avenue to get into a property. And that doesn't mean that's the only program, right? There are programs where you can come up with the funds, whether it's gift funds, as low as 3 to 3.5% down, depending on conventional or FHA financing. And then there's also other programs out there like the Golden State Finance Authority that offers multiple down payment assistance programs. So this Dream for All is not a one size fits all. And if it doesn't apply to you, then that doesn't mean that's the end, right? It is the start of a conversation with a lender that does know these down payment assistance programs that can be able to assist.
Okay, and I think that kind of brings me to the perfect ending here, which is if someone wants to learn more about this program, the Dream for All program, and how to kind of get that process started to be able to get into the lottery in April, or they just want to hear about some of these other programs that exist out there to help out with down payment, what is the best way for them to give you a call? Is it a contact on Instagram, phone call, email? What's the best way for them to get a hold of you?
Yeah, so I actually work on a team with my father-in-law. So we're local here in Orange County. We work hand in hand together. His name's Glenn Henry. But you could follow us on Instagram at the Henry LaSalla Group. And Josh can throw up the handle there as well.
I'll put it right there.
And definitely send us a DM. You can definitely find our information on the internet as well. Search our reviews. But Henry LaSalla Group is what you can search.
Okay, perfect. Well, Mike, thank you for joining me today because I know this is, again, a hot topic last year. It will be a hot topic again this year. So we want to make sure that everybody out there is informed and have the right expectations in terms of their ability to be able to get this. Because yes, it is great. However, it is going to be a lottery system. I can guarantee you there is going to be a lot of people applying for it. So you don't want to pin your hopes and dreams on this. If you get it, great. You're going to be able to get some great assistance, but there are definitely other programs out there. So again, Mike, thanks for joining me today, and everybody else. Until next week, stay happy, stay healthy, and I'll see you on the next show. Bye, everybody.